Hey there guys, looking at Boon today, playing Scout in a Gullywash scrim. I don't really know what div he's in, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just gonna keep the rollout in since it's pretty short anyway. Okay, so this is the right decision right now. If your demo goes choke, you almost always have to send a Scout choke or it's just not gonna pan out that well. So immediately you get this Scout pick. I don't think their team's showing up to mid. But yeah, you can see how it's really effective because if you weren't there, that Scout would still get on your demo and kind of shit on you. And if a demo does, just pause for a sec. If a demo does a double sticky rollout, one to get to lower lobby and then one and lower to the shutter door, he can actually get there so he ties the demo and usually wins the sticky trade there, which ends up leaving the choke demo at 130. If he gets a follow-up stick and a Scout rushes him, he's pretty much dead. Guaranteed. There's nothing he can do. So having a Scout there, it's still kind of a losing battle, but you need him there to alleviate that pressure. And a Scout coming from big door, jumping up to the overhang just to your right now, is not quick enough. And he's just put in a position where he can get turned on and easily pushed out of mid. So while I don't think choke works number wise, like it just stacks up poorly against pushing big door as demo, you really made the right decision here, pushing choke with your demo. Just gonna speed up a bit. Alright, well, that soldier crashed or something. AFK. Okay, so at the point this guy's like dicking around, just make sure you hit him. Like, as soon as he takes out the pistol, you don't have to worry about really dodging a whole lot, just make sure you line up the shot after you hit that meat shot. And then yeah, this round's gonna be pretty textbook. Yeah, it looks like maybe they had an AFK or something, so hopefully the next round's a bit better. Alright, so yeah, see how they kind of got up to here a bit earlier? That's the consequence of going choke. Their domain should have kind of shit on you. And this guy, I don't know, there's not much to say about that mid, because there wasn't a whole lot of mistakes you did personally. You guys just got rollout countered, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it, aside from not really sending your demo choke. But you win the DM fight at the end. And I don't think their soldier swallowed up very well because you were sitting at 4 forever and they could have just jumped and shotgunned you once. At least the pocket, you probably have one. So yeah, that was just a little bit of luck, a little bit of out DM that won you guys that mid, and nothing really that was your fault because the way you're playing, your team rolls out to that mid, the scouts are just forfeit. They're just kind of like, if bad things are gonna happen, then there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You don't really control your own fate. So I think you guys dropped your meds at around the same time, so I'm pretty sure it's even right now. So you guys can wait till Uber and do some reset pushes, or well, I would wait to Uber regardless, but you should be looking to push your choke, over flood it, or push flank, open up choke and sack someone in, or push flank and let your roamer jump in with a bigger buff. Because you don't want to really Uber v Uber this. It's not a very good situation unless you can push big door and then kind of flood into lobby and get behind them and up top. If they don't take that while you're doing it, then you have a better position here. So right now, before your team's pushing, you always want to be getting a buff. Because in the event that the push goes well, you need to be healthy to follow up on it. So, pause for a sec. Because your team didn't really give you guys buffs before they pushed, or maybe they just didn't tell you you were pushing so you didn't have time to get them. Anything good they did means nothing because you guys won't have the health to follow up on it. At the very least, like, even if it takes them a while to do something well with Uber, you've got like, especially the roamer, because he's gonna decay. I don't think decay is the same rate. I have to check on that actually, but I think he's gonna decay, or his buff's gonna last a bit longer. So he'll definitely have one, and that's really important because soldiers at high HP can rape everything. So yeah, I think it was a mistake not getting buffs there, and at the very least it cut down on your ability to trade at the flank while the Uber was going on, which made them a little bit stronger for your repush into here. And in general, I don't think it was really successful enough to warrant a repush. Like, if I was going to push into choke, no Uber v no Uber, everyone's health would be perfect, Scout would be leading. Like, things have to be positioned properly, and in general that's soldier close to the wall near the health pack, Scout leads, soldier takes the wall, demo's behind medic as they come in, Scout near medic, the Scout lead just hangs to the right, the soldier spams out, maybe jumps in, demo kind of shells them from behind, and the Scout that's on the medic deals with anything that jumps to the medic. That's probably the best choke like flood I could explain. Like, I'd have to show it and kind of, like, it's hard to explain it with words, so I just won't really go there. But we'll just go with this push kind of being not the best, and then I don't really think you should show flood choke off of that Uber, because I don't think it was that successful just watching it from your POV. So it turns out that's true, because you guys kind of get pooped on. So yeah, you're not even going to be able to hold 2, and your team's trapped out now, so they need to be pushing. Unfortunately, they gotta pick. You pick their pocket, I think. So you guys are going to be pretty golden for a little bit. They still should be pushing into you pretty soon. Because they're going to have a bit of Uber advantage. Probably like 60%, because that fight lasted a while after you guys Ubered. So I'd expect them to push now. And since you just dropped someone, you guys really need to be getting out. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't have peeked that. Just pause for a sec. If you're down a player, you can't really afford to peek that. Especially since he died on the flank, I would expect a lot of people to be there. And then... Yeah, your team is just really too far. I would have suggested, like, before you got the sniper pick, I was going to tell you that your team should be all the way up top, and that's where you should head. At the very least, just sit at shower door and call big. But, yeah, you guys kind of got that pick, and then got a little ballsy. So what I would do there in that situation, knowing that we were disadvantaged, have your medic play in between big door and choke. Heavy buffs on big door, heavy buffs on choke. In the event that they're coming big door, you spot them earlier enough because their flank's buffed enough so they can trade until they get an eye of what's going on. Or even if you're playing heavy at choke, your pocket soldier demo, they can really figure out where the enemy team is by the lack of presence, or sometimes they even see them drop. That gives you enough time to walk up onto the point and then jump top, or even get into shower door if you're quick enough. Or you could just push choke or hang out choke until you get Uber in the event that you're not that disadvantaged. And in the case that they end up pushing choke, what I would do is a scout, because I tend to favor soldiers more in defensive situations, is I would just walk into them at choke and force them with a little bit of spam in between, and there's not a whole lot there's not a whole lot they can do, because if they ignore me and I'm hitting my shots, I force them anyway, and then I end up behind them and I potentially win a 1v1 and their push is over. So that's probably what you and your team should have been looking to do. Like, there's not much I could comment on individually there, aside from not peeking big door early, because their team was just out of position and not really able to deal with the fact that they had an Uber. And then yeah, it was just good game from there, or good round. Speed up a little bit. Alright, so yeah, You should be taking that corner a bit wider. Head towards banana a little bit, just so you don't take that first stick. You don't want to be stacking the same damage as your demo. But that mid went pretty well, just because you got onto them. I think that was more their mistake than you doing very well, because you dropped to 90 immediately, so like they have to fuck up to let someone at 90 HP kind of kill. Like you did a lot of damage there and put them all on the ground for a little bit, which is good. So yeah, make sure you get a buff before you go in here, unless your team's already up top. I don't really know. I think they are, so this is fine. Okay, so just a minor thing there. You crossed 3 sight lines and you didn't look at either of them. You know, you didn't really look at lower, didn't look at top left or shutter door when you were crossing them. And it's just a mechanical thing that you make sure that you're looking at the same place. You're looking at the closest place that you can get pushed. So if you do potentially get pushed, your crosshair is closer to them, and you have more, or you have a quicker adaptation to what's going on. It's not really a big thing, but so you want to check that with your buff. It's not really reliable. Okay, let's just go over why. So you saw a rocket heading there from the enemy side, so I wouldn't check that with 185. Even if I was confident the person I was running to didn't have a buff, because if there's a soldier on that pipe, you just die. Like, especially if he has a shotgun, you know, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot, surf into him or anything. You don't really accomplish much. So, there's only really 2 places I would ever kind of pressure as a, well, 3 I guess. I would pressure lower main because it's got a really nice sightline. And it's pretty easy to line of sight break your way in if you have to. You get enough good damage to kind of commit on something. And Riverside just because it's not really punishable. In the case that they're not really near shutter door, you can work on that a bit just because the distance from the pipe is a little bit further. And then this push, I don't think you guys should have gone in after your roamer immediately died. Like, I don't know if you were already going in, but it seems like the push is mistimed. Like your roamer needs to be coming in after, and you need to be coming in after. And Gully Wash is really a last where you can afford to push in 2 waves, because it's really easy for the medic to cross to the other side during the Uber, assuming you have Uber advantage, because it's such a small last. So you should just look to hook up with your medic and roamer as your medic crosses over with the rest of the Uber after everyone gets in that kind of situation. Yeah, if you're gonna peek those stickies, you should peek them from here. And then this is good. Like the way you took that corner was nice. Except make sure your crosshair is like pinned to the wall that's closest to you, so if someone like sneaks in or just like hugs the wall tight into you, then you're not that surprised by it. Oh, that sucked. Oh, he didn't dead on you. That was really fortunate. Yeah, I don't know. That was really unfortunate. When you kill the demo, you probably should have just bailed. I don't know. In general, I wouldn't expect you ever to take a last like that with the heavy on it. So as soon as you saw the heavy, both you and your scout partner should have figured out something else to do. I think you should have stayed there a bit longer, just so you could have spotted them a bit earlier here. Maybe you saw the mag behind this, or you know this push is coming at least. And you're buff decayed anyway. You're 125 now, and when you left you were 160. So you can afford to take the rocket there, and you're still at the same health. Even getting a bit lower isn't a problem, because you have these 2 health packs available to you. So I don't really know who their medic is, but I guess they don't have advantage. I thought they did. So I guess it's even. It has to be even. So you guys are waiting for Uber before you do anything. And see, peeking here at this low HP is terrible. Like if you peek something and there's not a whole lot of damage coming at you. Okay, let's pause for a sec. So if you peek something and there's not a whole lot of damage coming at you, then you should just stay there until your buff decays or gets you get pressured out. Then get a buff and try it again. That's the best way to kind of get coverage of what's going on. Your roamer can pretty much hold it by himself if you're playing back, but you never want to peek ahead of him with low buffs like that. And okay, so you got pushed out because their soldier was coming in, and then when you had the chance to leave, you pushed behind them and kind of 1v1 a scout, which is a pretty bad decision because the scout should have shit on you since he had a buff. But you had hit some nice shots, and the medic should have reacted to you pushing behind and just stayed on the scout, and they should have killed you instantly because their Uber was so poor, since it was so far back that giving it all to the soldier wasn't really going to accomplish anything anyway. So they should have been very, very pleased to get that pick on you because you pushed in behind them. But it worked out anyway, so not a big deal. Yeah, just put on view models. Wait, I can't. It's a POV demo. Maybe I can. I don't know. Yeah, so that push just kind of sucked because I think your roamer died immediately. I didn't really know what happened with your combo, but I don't know. I just need to know where they're going a bit earlier if you're gonna kind of push, like, or play really far back. And you're just, as a team, you're playing a little bit in between. So get some aggression going or play a little bit more passive. Probably the best. So yeah, their demo went choke this time, so you're not eating a stick immediately, but you stand still against that soldier, which is a pretty big problem. You never want to assume that someone's not going to hit you, so you always want to be moving around a bit, even if it's a bit easier to shoot at him. And yeah, like you want to time your shot on that first jumper a little bit better, so you shoot him as he's jumping, like not before, so it kind of stumps him a bit, which will make it a bit easier to deal with him. And now with your big buff, you want to peek river because they're gonna Uber here anyway. And I would want you to spot river in general. And this isn't achieving anything. You're not doing a whole lot here. In river with a full buff, since they push so quickly main, anyone up there, I don't think there was anyone up there, maybe there's a roamer, but anyone up there wouldn't have a buff. So at that time, you can, you know, exhaust your buff that would have decayed anyway or been lost in the Uber, dealing actual damage to someone, guaranteed damage. That was a pretty fine push, like, I can't really complain about that. But yeah. You noticed during that Uber you didn't really do a whole lot, and your buff decayed and you got shot a bit. So just if you have a big buff, the timing for them capping, you could have spotted them river, and since they went straight main, which was a good play on their part, getting into you quick, they just missed a lot. You would have been able to fight someone up there without a buff if they were there immediately. If they just got there, then you probably assume that they had a buff. Just keep the scatter out. Yeah. You don't ever want a pistol if there's a chance that they can kill you. Like, you had to drop down because you were threatened by him. So just keep the scatter out so you can't really... Like, when you pistol, you're really easy to kill. Like, you're easy to push into. It's pretty easy to fight you, so just keep the scatter out there. And here you're going way too quickly. Your team's not close enough. And you're lucky if you don't lose both you and your scout partner immediately. And now your push is kind of fucked. So, like, you don't want to be aggressing without your team as scout. You always want to have your team in mind. So the easiest way to do that for me is to, like, push in front of my team. Like, I get my team in, and that way I'm always synced up with them because they have to be behind me or I'm not gonna go in, you know? And that's a really easy way to do it. Or you just wait till they go in and then go in yourself, or just Uber both scouts in, because both you guys got a little ahead of yourself. Since people are defending right now, you want to take a little peek at 2 to see if you can do some chip damage while you're waiting for that pack anyway. And since you weren't really low, any damage that you took there, you'd be able to like recuperate it from the pack since you were only minus 40 anyway or something. That push into 2 was kinda shitty. I probably wouldn't have done that after losing a soldier unless he said he got some really sick damage and no one had ammo. Which may have been the case, so maybe it was fine. So you know how you have a soldier fucking with them right now, so you can peek choke for free? Except he just died, so you don't have a whole lot of time here. So that was good. Should have taken the pack on the way out since your team's not going to be there for a while anyway, and you don't want them to have access to it. If you want to get up top right now, your team can actually defend pretty well from where they are, just splashing. Like, you can pretty easily force them if your dome man's shooting them and your soldier shooting them, and your med can get away pretty easily as long as you're kind of up top and prevent them from jumping a bit. So this is a problem because they got in for free, and the scout lead was pretty good because he kind of tanked in and didn't take a whole lot of damage, and the heal beam was on him for the most part. And you shouldn't be looking to fight this guy at 90 HP because he will one-shot you, the soldier down there. So yeah, you guys lost that because you didn't shoot them at choke. I think your dome man shouldn't have had stickies where he did. They weren't very useful. And your roamer probably should have been up there as well. So right now you guys are pretty fucked. Okay, I think your medic was making a big mistake there. You needed personally to get a lot of the Uber so you could push out into them. And just at that point the rest of your team can kind of just take the Uber and kill the people around because they're not going to get out. You're really concerned about that push. Like, it was very, very surprising to me that you lost it. So I think it was really like a pretty bad Uber, and yeah, like you just, yeah, I don't know. The reason I suggested that you get Ubered is because in that push I would expect so easily to win the fight at last that you would have enough time to, or the luxury of committing a player to killing people running away, basically. Instead of, you know, dealing with last because you were all Ubered. There's no way you really should have gone fucked up there. Let's look at this mid. Yeah, you need to be up there a bit earlier just because, okay, the position you had there, when you decided to get aggressive, the scout was coming at your side, which was pretty bad. So you'd rather fight the soldier earlier or take some damage from him just for the sake of being further away from elbow so that someone flanking up there, since you're pretty much alone, doesn't really deal damage. You'll be a bit further ahead of them. You can drop down and force them to drop down if they want to 1v1 you, which pretty much is a good damage trade if you're already a little bit weak. Since they'll probably overkill you and waste some damage, and you probably won't kill them, so your damage is maximum efficient, so you'll probably be winning a damage trade there. And if you do enough damage to the soldier and disrupt him a little bit, your team's going to have enough an opening to win. So I would probably just push the soldier a bit earlier there. Knowing that I don't think your demo man was choked, so you didn't have a whole lot to, maybe he was, I don't know. In general, I probably would push there. And your demo man should have definitely stickied you off. Alright, so you guys are screwed for 2, so you could set up off class for last. Like, this would be a good time to get gun up, because you could get level 2 before they got in. And you can't really hold lobby. Maybe you can force them up. No, you can't even force them up top. Your med died too late, so you're just having a really bad 2. Like, you didn't even slow them out at all, so an off class would have been good here. That was fine, but you should have been satisfied with the damage you dealt to him. Like, demo man aren't gonna do damage. Like, as long as you're in that area. Let's pause for a sec. So you did like 90 damage to him because you rushed him unexpectedly. It was just a good play. And then he started sticking and like really easy stickies, so you were definitely gonna hit. But you gotta consider what he's actually going to do. Cause, you know, he's in lobby. Can't really peek anything as long as you're up there. And at the very least, he's going to get the pack if he's, or not doing anything. Like, he can't push because you can kill him. And he's just going to get the pack. So he's got a downtime of like pretty much the entire Uber just because of that one play. And instead of committing on him and losing a bunch of health for someone that wasn't going to be doing damage anyway, is pretty foolish when you could have been trying to damage the Uber and for like make them spread a little bit. Help your team out generally a bit more. And if someone strays away from the Uber, that 1v1 is a lot better to win than the demo 1v1 where you've already won the damage trade where it's significant enough that he's too frightened to push into last because of the threat of you killing him. Yeah, it's like Demoman, that's kind of the key about Demoman. In a lot of situations, if you can deal with a Demoman without directly damaging him or killing him, and he doesn't deal a whole lot of damage to your team while you're doing something else, then you're like carrying pretty hard, like in like a metagame kind of sense. So that's what you're looking to do there. And that opportunity was pretty obvious to me that was the right choice. So that's probably like the easiest example. Alright, so you should rush up early. If at the very least, if you're going to hang out here, you don't want to be not looking at where your enemy is, because a sticky could come at you, which would be unfortunate. So just play it further back if you want to buff. And then I think the key to Gully Wash mid is not giving up height as Scout. You can live forever on the ground. Okay, a couple of mistakes made there. But yeah, you can live forever on the ground, but you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage. So the goal on mids is to make sure that you're doing damage, staying healthy, and staying on high ground. So yeah, I think you just kind of gave up positioning a bit too early there. But yeah, you did pretty well. And in general, I think you took too many 1v1s, but you did pretty well. And then this damage on the demo was good, but based on the way he looked after you shot him twice, you should have known that he was going to sticky you off. So if you really wanted to continue pushing him, because the push was going, or because mid was going so poorly anyway that you just wanted to die, or like just fight immediately, which is like something to strive for. Make sure you die quickly if you're not going to get anything, but if you hug the right wall and then jump up towards the bottle, you probably wouldn't have gotten hit by that sticky, and you probably could have killed the demo, because he's minus 40 plus he didn't have overheal, so maybe he was even weaker than that before, so he would have been a pretty easy kill from this position. That was just, yeah, he was 60 health there, so you could have killed him pretty easily, even if he got the pack. So that's kind of unfortunate. That would have helped for defending 2 a bit, but you guys did okay there anyway.
Our control point is being captured.
Yeah, it would have been a lot easier to defend too. So what you're trying to do right now is defend lobby, because, you know, they had 3 people on cap. I think their mag's on there, so I think their med lived. So they have advantage, and you're looking to slow them down as much as possible in the lobby. That's fortunate that you get a pick immediately. That's a pretty big mistake on their part. So what you need to be doing right now is you need to have gotten a buff and then been pushing that demo and into river a bit earlier. You never want to get pushed into. Fortunately, their Uber kind of fails pretty hard, and your pocket gets to clean everything up. Or your roamer, I don't really know. But yeah, you can understand how holding lobby there would have helped a bit. Slowed down, let everyone fight on their own terms, get buffs as they were pushing in, because you can control when they come in. And I'm going to pause here for a sec. And just really buy time so that in the event that their Uber is really poor, you might actually get it. by the end of that fight. And then towards the end of that last, like I said, you're just not really abusing the fact that their flank really didn't have that many heals, especially knowing that the Demo Man was already River and then they pushed Shutter Door. He's not going to have a buff, so you can look to fight him at least, and he will be 175, so it's a pretty easy fight if you're 185. So just, I think it's probably timing. Like, you didn't need to be on the right side for the most part there. I think checking River was the right idea when you freshly spawned, and then getting resub after you got hit by the demo a bit, and getting a buff probably would have been best. Because if the demo's that close, I would imagine they were pushing soon, and they just finished the cap. And since you couldn't put up lobby pressure because your scout died to trap immediately, you wouldn't really be that worried about it. So yeah. Just make sure you have a buff when you expect them to push in. And then right here, pushing out this lower door is really good, putting pressure on the sniper. It's kind of unfortunate you didn't take a little more time with your shots, because you probably could have killed him and then all in the soldier and maybe gone to pick there. So you guys got forced, which is unfortunate. You need to focus the soldier near Banana because he was jumping away, and I know he's weak. It was a mistake not to do that. And then you just kind of walked over that sticky. So right now, you're more concerned with killing a sniper than you're killing the medic there, because everyone else is forward, and there's no one really to protect the sniper. And if you kill the sniper, the medic either runs into your team, he's already not healing anyone anyway, and or he runs into you and you just kill him because it's a medic versus a scout. So you have to understand a little bit about how medics work. Like, if they're not healing anyone, they're not close to, or you don't need to shoot them. So that situation was pretty clear that putting damage on the sniper so he couldn't take any more shots was a bit better. You could have easily killed him, killed the demo behind, because in order to get there he would have had to jump, and that would be an easy kill. And then clean up the medic, and because you killed the medic so late, he has a worse spawn, and this last is even easier. So right now you guys have uber advantage. You're going to be looking to push in with both scouts, so I think you're going to go in first, which is nice. But you need to get ubered. So you got a little bit ahead of your medic. I wouldn't have pushed that early to begin with. I felt like you went a bit early at the start of that anyway, but at the end this is fine. I think you got a little lucky there, but yeah. Definitely, you should, if you were going to push that early, you should have backed up a little bit. Or, preferably, I think you should have been a little bit closer to your soldier when you pushed. So you guys are trying to choke again, even though I think you had more success with Big Door, and we'll see. Make sure you hit that guy. He's not going to be able to move a lot on the ground. Or, sorry, he's stupid right now. He's not going to be able to move a lot coming through elbow. So you just make sure you hit him. If he shoots at you, because the stickies or he's so close to you, the stickies, the travel time and the prime time, they're going to take, it's just going to be really hard to hit you. They'll probably bounce off you even. So you have a lot of room to dodge stickies as they're being placed, as opposed to having to dodge them beforehand. So at that range you don't have to worry that much about moving. And then when you pushed into him, I don't know how coordinated you guys were, but leaving the demo that healthy and switching the scout a bit earlier would have been better, because realistically by now you should have died, and putting that damage on the demo and the scout more evenly would have opened it up a lot more for a soldier to just come in and shoot on them. So I don't know if someone's going to come in after I unpause this, but if that were the case, you were probably better off spreading damage. So I guess, yeah, see that guy's jumping in there? You probably would have been better off spreading the damage. You could even kill the scout, and at that point the demo man's forced into a 1v1 with you. Granted he has a medic, but he's not going to be able to kill you. So, just a little bit of target priority there would have been better. In general, walking, forward spawns aren't that great on Gully. As Scout, it's pretty much almost always better to just walk it out 9 out of 10 times. You're not building low enough. Just build around 160. You're getting up to 170 sometimes there. So there, as soon as you hit the meat and you knew you didn't see the overheal particles, you should have just chilled. He's not going to do anything. So as soon as you hit him really hard, just make sure you hit the next shot, stay at like a reasonable range. Okay, so in between these shots, because this is such a long range, you should be checking for a trap on the left wall. Because if he was setting up 2 traps, he would have just killed you there, and you guys would have lost momentum, maybe not even being able to push into last. So, because you have the luxury of not having to aim at him that much, because it's long range and all shots kind of do the same damage, you should kind of look around a bit for another trap, since he only put 2 in the cone, and who knows how long he was there for. You need to hook up with the Uber right now. They don't have it, so you don't really have to worry about... Okay, now you need to kill that scout. If you do like 150 damage to a scout getting healed, you just keep committing on him. Pretty much. But yeah, being in that Uber would have been a lot better. And in general, I thought, like, sorry, not in general, but that push, I think that only your soldier was there. So that Uber would have benefited greatly from having an additional person there, regardless of what class it was. So just stick around it a bit more if they're alone. See, you shouldn't be expecting things to come up there anymore. Or not anymore. Like, it's kind of wrong to assume people will play mids off of their previous mids. But objectively, I think it's wrong to look towards elbow expecting something to come up. Even if it's been happening regularly, because they're such easy shots, because they're kind of minimized, or like restricted, sorry, to certain areas. Like, they can't really move right or left very well in there, so you get easy shots anyway. And just your presence there, regardless of whether you're looking at them or not, is enough to deter someone from pushing up there if they're kind of smart. And yeah, see, you give up this ground, but it doesn't mean anything. That guy kind of raped you. But yeah, you give up this ground, and you were forced to go back up anyway, which is... I don't know, you just wasted time there and lost position and allowed them to kind of push up, which is unfortunate. But yeah, just basically from the ground, you're not doing enough damage to out-damage a Medibeam anyway, so it's not really that great. Like, reliably, I guess, reliable damage. But yeah, you should just stay above, and then scouts are basically the people that start the push across the point, and then soldiers jump behind them. So it was nice that you saw them there, but you didn't need to back up underneath or water or whatever, because like you could have avoided taking splash damage and a bit of scatter just to get towards your team, and ultimately have a bit bigger of a buff. Because I would assume that everyone at last would be at maximum health as soon as you called that, or at least by the time you got back to them. So you're not really taking heals away from anyone there, except for yourself by, avoiding damage. Alright, so this is good. I think you should have been spotting lobby a bit. And this is unfortunate. I don't know. I don't really know how they pushed in there. Like, having the sniper is just a mistake. But, yeah. I think your mids need to be getting more aggressive on soldiers, since generally you're the choke guy, and that's kinda your job. And then deterring that scout and demo, which you did a good job of for the most part. When you come through choke, make sure to take it wide, or avoid the sticky that's on the ground. And you managed to avoid the sticky most of the time, but you didn't really take it wide that much when he was just lobbing them in. As far as other things go, I think you focus on the demo man too much, and when you have a demo man in a very controlled situation, especially when the medic's on him, you have 2 classes being wasted essentially. Because a demo man that has to deal with someone that's actively fighting him or actively fighting someone else is pretty weak. If he's like not within a certain range, he's not going to do a whole lot of damage. And a medic sticking on a demo is pretty useless, because for the most part demo men are always at their maximum efficiency, so putting heals on them is meaningless to a certain extent. As long as you're dealing with a demo in the proper way, it doesn't mean a whole lot. So while it was good making plays on the demo a lot, I think there were a lot of opportunities for you to control the demo and the medic while fighting other people that you missed out on. And then on mids, you give up position on high ground too much, and you don't really push the across the point with the heal beam to open it up with your team. As far as pushing last goes, I think you need to be, especially with Uber advantage, pushing with your team, and it kind of hurt you guys and punished you a lot because you weren't with them when you had Uber advantage, or just pushing off of numbers or something. And then I think the only other point that was really contested that much was you guys defending too, and we just noted a little bit that your buff management wasn't very good, and you kind of made plays that were pretty questionable because people had previously died, or it was incentivized for the other team to kind of just play off of what you were doing anyway. Like the time when you pushed behind them in the Uber, they wanted to kill you anyway. And you could have just left, so that play wasn't that great because you weren't really bringing them back from anything because they already had the shittiest Uber in the world. So yeah, just understanding what people can do with Ubers will help that a little bit. And then you had some mechanical errors here and there about shooting things where you get a little bit too close to scouts or a little bit too close to soldiers after you were winning the fight or you had more health than them to begin with. And then, I don't know, that game was kind of weird. For the most part, I don't think it was too much of your fault as much as your team just dying really late on mid because of the way they rolled out and just having a worse rollout in general, I think. And just not being able to defend too and getting pushed into last and having a little bit of mechanical errors on last.